All right, Hamas sources close to the negotiating committee have stated that Hamas would not participate in post-war governance in Gaza as the ceasefire came into effect. It has been highlighted that Hamas would not be part of the transitional phase of the Gaza Strip. This controversial governance goes back to 2005. Back then, Israel completed its unilateral disengagement from the Gaza Strip, removing all the military personnel and settlers. Palestinian Authority, led by Fatah Party, was given administrative control of the territory, and in January 2006, Hamas secured majority in seats in elections. And after a brief factional fight, Hamas has controlled the Strip since then. However, the Hamas sources have also stated that despite the group relinquishing its control over the Gaza Strip, it remains a fundamental part of the Palestinian fabric. All right, Alison Mutler, former AP Bureau Chief in Romania, is joining us at this point in time. Alison, appreciate you being here. Well, how do you think that there's going to be a logical and pragmatic conclusion to these peace deals and, peace sustaining itself without the presence of Hamas in one way or the other?
Well, Hamas is a terrorist group. It's been designated as such, and therefore it's been removed from the picture. In the statement, it says it will continue to be part of the Palestinian fabric. Now, that means nothing or everything. What does being part of the Palestinian fabric mean at all? Does that mean that their goals, their terrorist ways live on through the Palestinian people? We're not clear. I mean, and it's specific, and I think, in my view, it deliberately doesn't say. But it's clear that Hamas has been cleanly removed from the peace deal so that the peace deal can move forward. I think Hamas probably had absolutely no choice. Obviously, behind the scenes, they were part of the negotiations, but now they've been excluded from the picture. With Hamas, there could be no peace. That is the message being sent across.
Alison, stay with us. Well, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation is set to keep its aid distribution sites in southern Gaza shuttered in the coming days. These sites will remain closed during the release of hostages by Hamas and are expected to reopen after the hostages are released. There is footage online showing an abandoned GHF site in the Netzarim corridor area of central Gaza. Earlier, the IDF withdrew from the area on Friday as the agreement came into effect. And as per the agreed plan, the Israeli troops are to withdraw from certain areas in Gaza to an accepted line, while Hamas is to release all the hostages that it has kept captive since October 7th attack. Alison Mutler is still with us. She joins us from Bucharest in Romania. Alison, it's obviously one thing to say that Hamas is going to continue to be a part of the Palestinian fabric. But the question arises that if not Hamas, there is a possibility, and you've already said it's a designated terrorist group. And the one trait and demeanor and disposition of terrorist groups is that if one is shut down, another one comes up in its place with a different name. What guarantee does Israel have? What guarantee does the world have that Hamas is not going to be operative in the future under disguise?
No guarantee. But they're trying to, I think the peace deal is trying to limit that and at least buy some time. Of course, there's no guarantees. Terrorists spring up all the time. I mean, that's the point of terrorism, is to attack the existing order. So there's no guarantee. But for the time being, they've been unfanged, de-teased. Of course, that doesn't mean that in the future. And I'm sure the negotiators are very well aware of that. But they have bought time and they have drawn a clean line. But you're quite right. Another group could appear. But Hamas had a lot of power, as you said in your intro, from I think was it 2006 onwards. They grew more and more powerful. So in order for a terrorist group to be effective, it needs time. It needs time to grow and to get new followers. So for the moment, the negotiations have bought time. But as you say, there's no reason why in the future another terrorist group called Hamas or by some other name might not appear. They probably will.
Alison, I would also be curious to pick your brains on what happens to all those people, who have been funding organizations and proxies such as Hamas. What becomes of them? Do they continue to do so?
I think it is a loss. This peace deal is a huge loss for those people for the moment, because that's how they gain their raison d'etre, their reason for being. was for sending funding. There are people who are interested in continuing this war. It's just that the leaders of the world have said it's time to put a stop to it. Of course, there are people interested on either side. I might say extremists on the Israeli side and on the Palestinian side. But for the moment, they've had their hands tied behind their back. The people who fund them, well, they will take stock of what's happened and sit and wait. That's what I imagine. But there's a lot of people, you can tell even by the silence on social media, not even by people criticizing it, that not everyone is happy about this, because it seems to me people, even if they live in countries many, many, many thousands of miles away, they need to have a cause to protest about, because, I don't know, maybe it's part of the human condition.
Alison, pleasure having you. Thank you so much for your thoughts. All right, markets in Gaza City were bustling.